everyone, it's Shel C from PaperOcotilloStudio. Today I'm sharing with you a watercolor deer that I did in my watercolor journal. This month, as I told you guys in the vlog at the beginning of the month, we are doing fluid media for Art Joy of Sharing, and so I'm going to be doing a lot of watercolor and other fluid medias during this month. I meant to have something on the weekend, but things got crazy. I hope everyone had a happy holiday if you're in the United States. Yeah, things just went nuts. So I didn't get my Saturday video done, but today's Monday. I'm starting a new week. I'm going to try to get an extra video in this week so that I can make up for the one I was supposed to have on the weekend. So this watercolor journal is from Arteza, and it comes in a pack of 3. It's a nice little book. It has an elastic that keeps it shut, and it has a bookmark so that you can keep, if you just want to flip it open to the next page. When we were doing watercolor workouts sometime at the beginning of the year, I started working in this book, but then just kind of haven't made any watercolors recently because, I'm mostly collage, probably collage number 1, acrylic number 2. And the reasons for that is because I don't think watercolor can be as bright and vibrant and interesting as mixed media or collage or acrylic paint. However, after messing around with it for a while, I'm kind of changing my mind because what I figured out is you just have to make layers with watercolor. You make a layer, you let that one dry, you put some more on, you let that dry, you put some more on, and you let that dry, and then maybe you build up enough color and pigment to make something really bright and vibrant. In addition, it really, in the case of watercolors, makes a big difference what grade they are. Are they artist grade, or are they student grade, or are they children's grade, or are they somewhere in between? So the artist grade watercolors are just different. They just have a lot more pigment and interest in color blending, and people are getting into watercolor. People are even making watercolors and selling them. There's all these artisan watercolors you can buy on Etsy and stuff, and it's just a real thing. And I don't know. I kind of like it. I still struggle because I am coming from the opposite direction into watercolor, and the big thing that I struggle with is leaving white space. It doesn't even matter what media that I'm doing. I don't like to leave white space. I want to fill in every single piece of that substrate with color. I want it to be everywhere. I want it to be bright and vibrant and just everywhere. So I struggle with leaving the white space. It's just a thing. I don't know. So when it comes to acrylics, of course, the white in acrylic is opaque. So if you want white space, you can put it back on at the end, right? So I have my white Posca pen, there's always gesso, there's titanium white acrylic paint. There's all these things that if you decide that you've just need a spot to rest with some lighter color, you can just put it on at the end. Watercolor is not the same. If you want white space, you got to leave it. That being said, however, there is this thing called gouache, and gouache is a water soluble, like a watercolor, comes in a tube or a pan. You can dry it into a pan, and it does come with an opaque white, or a fairly opaque white. And in the case of the watercolors I'm using on the right hand side, those are from Arteza as well. And I got a set of like 60, I think, and it had 60 tubes. And then I got one of these Arteza cases that had, 24 pans maybe. And I made my own I wanted nature colors. And I made my own little set here of 24 colors. And one of the colors I put in there is their white. And it is definitely like a gouache. It's opaque. And you'll see me use it at the end for accents and things, which you'll see how it works. So the ones on the other side are my expensive ones. Peg Robinson, my friend and partner with Art Joy of Sharing, she was talking to this lady who works at Jerry's Artorama, and that particular woman was selling just like grab bag type boxes of watercolor stuff. And Peg bought one, and it was a lot of high end watercolors and things that were in it. So she bought one for me as well. So most of these more expensive watercolors have come from that. And there's some Daniel Smith, there's some Core, there's Lucas, there's who's the one that does it with the honey? Um, Graham, Graham colors. There's about 6 or 8 of those. So these are my more expensive ones on the left, and then my less expensive ones from Arteza are on the right. And you can see that I'm using both of them. It's not a fight between who's better. They're just different. And Arteza does say that their watercolors are artist quality, and they are pretty pigmented, but they're not Daniel Smith. And they're more like a gouache than they are like a watercolor because they do seem to have a lot of opacity. In general, watercolors are translucent. Almost all watercolors are translucent. There are some that are more opaque or semi-opaque, but uh, the idea behind watercolors is translucency and layers of color. So why am I doing an animal portrait? Well, I said I was going to do an animal portrait every month, and this is my animal portrait for July, and I'll probably maybe have another one because I love to draw and paint and collage animals. But on my Instagram feed and my Facebook right now, a lot of my friends who I follow have been having deer in their yard or in their neighborhoods, and they've been taking pictures of all these cute little fawns and these beautiful, graceful deer. And I just keep seeing deer everywhere. And you know how that happens? It's like you see a thing or you're affected by something, and then you see it everywhere. Like if you've ever been pregnant, suddenly everyone's pregnant, and you didn't even notice that before. You just didn't even notice those people, but then as soon as it's you, suddenly it's everybody. And that's how I feel about this deer. It's like I saw a deer, I saw a cute deer, and then suddenly everybody's got deer. So I decided to make a deer. This isn't a fawn, it's a doe. I wasn't gonna paint horns. I don't know. I have a thing about horns, so they kind of creep me out. It's like bones on the outside of your body. It's weird. I don't like it. So I wanted to make, a doe-eyed deer, which would of course be a doe, right? They have big luminous eyes that have highlight because they shine in the light. They're big and open. I guess so that they can see in the dark. They have the kind of eyes that you could see in the dark with better. So as you saw at the beginning, I started with one layer. I first drew the deer with some of the light tan paint. I didn't use any pencil or anything or any erasing. I just went ahead and did the drawing, the sketching, the illustration, or whatever you want to call it, using a very small, like a number 2 round brush and a fairly light color. It was the tan color from the Arteza. And then I went to the background and I did some wet and wet using a couple colors that I really like from I'm not sure which company they're from, but there's an indigo and there's a kind of like an olive green, and there's a greenish blue, pretty colors. And then I wanted a really strong light source. It's like this deer is kind of out in the sticks hiding, because they do. But you could see her because there's this strong light source coming from the left-hand side, which I don't know why, but for some reason all my light sources seem to want to be on the left-hand side. They always seem to be on the left upper side. I don't know why. So then I started to fill in my deer, and I started with some of that, the lightest color I wanted on there besides some white, which I did manage to leave a little white around the eye and on the nose. Shocking. I know you're amazed. And then I started with that yellow and orange, the warm colors, and I put in the highlights first. it's like so backwards from what I do with acrylic. I put in the darks first and then I come in with the lights because I don't worry about being able to go over the top of the dark if I need more light. And you do on this. So I started with the lights. I wanted some warm sunshine on her fur. And then I started to fill in shadows and like a dark brown color. And then I came back in with a medium brown, filled in the rest of it. And then I started to add atmospheric colors on my second layer. That's what I'm going to call them right now. Atmospheric colors. The blue in the background, it now needs to come into the shadows on the deer because it just does. It makes it look better. So I added in some of that blue back into where the shadowy, the darkest areas are on the deer, on the bottom of the belly, under the armpit, under the chin, in the area where the deer's face really comes in at an angle on the sides of their face. The eyes are done with black and that dark indigo mixed together. It's not a pure black. It's like a really, really, really dark blue. I love indigo. That's a great color. I also love Payne's Gray, but I don't think that I have Payne's Gray in this. I'm not sure. Maybe that very darkest one might be Payne's Gray and not black. So then I let that dry. I went back out and started adding more depth to the background colors. You know, working back and forth. At some point I did dry with the heat tool because I was getting impatient. But the way that you work watercolor is you work a section and then you move to a section that's far away from it so that you don't get bleeds, which I did get a few on here, but I don't really care. It's abstracted anyway. It's not realistic, so I'm not too concerned about it. So with the white that I'm kind of doing now, I'm doing sketchy lines. You know, I like sketchy lines. I just do. Even if it's not an illustration, it's still an illustration. So I just kind of did some flick green and then some flick white over the top once it was dry. And I do come in and add some sketchy lines with the darkest color as well, which is that indigo. But I'm intensifying areas on the deer, then intensifying areas on the background, then coming back and intensifying areas, adding new colors, splatters. I love splatters on watercolor. I don't know why. I just think it looks awesome. Well, I like splatters on everything. I mean, you guys know that. But on the watercolor really looks cool. I guess because it kind of blooms out. If the paper is at all wet, it kind of gives this little bloom. And so I did splatter some. I'm adding Arteza colors on the top layer because they are a little bit more opaque and I can get some pops of that brighter, more intense color over the background and the deer even. I add in some bright red. So if you are doing watercolor this month, it is World Watercolor Month from Doodle Wash, and that's a hashtag. Then you can also use the hashtag AJOS 2020 water. That's our hashtag for watercolor this month if you want to share your work in the Art Jar Sharing group with us or share it on social media inspired by us doing watercolor. You can add that hashtag to your work. And I'm going to be using it for mine, and Peg's been using it for her. She's had several watercolor videos come up, so you should go check out her channel and watch some of her watercolor videos. So now I'm adding back in some light again with the white and the yellow, some more yellow. I like the warmth that the yellow gives you the idea that the sun is shining on the deer and you're getting that kind of dappling through the whatever forest sticks, whatever she's standing in, bushes, and it's coming through and kind of shining off of her fur coat, whatever it is. And I'm also adding some white around the eyes, a little bit of highlights, some white on the top of the nose, just some little like dots and splashes and stuff. I don't know. This was really fun, and I intend to do more watercolor paintings in this book this month. So I hope you'll be watching. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up, and you can leave me a comment. You can share it. You can subscribe and turn on your notification bells if you haven't. That's that little thing that looks like a church bell next to subscribe. You can pin this on Pinterest, share it on Facebook, any of those things. All those things really help me out and help people find my channel. So that's it for me. Thanks. Bye bye.